Jump off that exhausting hamster wheel and into balanced living with Dr. Marissa.
Promise you joy in the mystery.
Dr. Marissa, also known as the Asian Oprah. Her mission, to be a beneficial presence on the planet. Her purpose, to be your personal advocate to live, laugh, love, learn. Her life motto, don't die wondering. Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pay.
Just waiting on Dr. Marissa.
Here
I'm
we
not really
go.
sure. Oh, there she is. Good morning.
Welcome. You're tuned to Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get Balance with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on CNBC, NBC News, and NBC Sports Radio Station, KCAA, home to the Asian Oprah, AM 1050, FM 106.5, and streaming everywhere. iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, TuneIn, Audible, Amazon Music, Tiki Live, Rumble, Podchaser, JioSaavn, and about 28 other platforms that I am way too not prepared to give you. But there is a reason why I'm in so many places, because I want to maximize my splatter zone for more hope and happiness. So I have a plethora of shows, 900 and something today, to be exact. If you are eyeballing us right now, thank you. Welcome to the live stream, LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube, where you can get all of my past shows. Coming up, we're having the second visit from a beautiful woman. She's 94. Marion Ross, the beloved mom from Happy Days, is coming back on next week, as well as my past show, The Waltons. I've got tons of classic TV if you're into that, and nostalgia and all of that wonderful stuff to bring a smile to your face. I also do special series in order for you to expand and grow. I love learning new things, and today you'll see in the studio is my parenting, grief, loss, and I know there's one more thing expert. Her name is Yarona Boster. Welcome back to the show, Yarona. And it's normally every last Wednesday, but this is a special day because I am launching her off on her own, which is one of the reasons why I co-host. I'm the middle spot for people who are, wanting to do this, but not sure if they want to do it, or getting some legs on the ground or bicycle reps with their muscles. And I'm so proud that she is going off on her own. I'm going to let her tell you how to follow her after this show. But today, just in case you're wondering, the topic is an example. Are you ever on an airplane and there is a kid that is out of control and you're just like, ooh? So we're talking about boundaries and parenting, and what is a healthy boundary and how can we help people with that? That is the topic that Yarona has selected for her. I will say just goodbye for now. Au revoir. So welcome back to the studio, Yarona.
Thank you. Thank you for having me again, of course. Yes, in this craziness that we call life, the hamster wheel was getting a little too fast for me. So I said, okay. Who's going to forgive me the most if I
is that what it is? I should have been meaner about this.
It's one of those moments where it's like, okay, I've got this and this and this, and now I'm getting that caught up with every bit of momentum, and it's exhausting. And I said, I need to preserve my energy so that I can be my most impactful self. So I said, okay, all right, here's where I've got to do this for now, and then I'll keep moving forward. But yeah, and boundaries. Yeah, let's talk boundaries. So
yeah, but before we do that, you know the drill.
Yes.
We're going to do our breakfast with Dr. Marissa. It's taking a bite of my gratitude sandwich. And I hope you carry some of these practices with you. If you're tuning in for the first time, this is pretty easy. Breakfast consists, no calorie breakfast, but it consists of the top of the bun, 8 specific things that you're grateful for and 8 specific things that you appreciate about yourself. And that we're modeling for you to do before you go to bed tonight. So you're not thinking about all the things you haven't finished, or who done you wrong, or who you need to have revenge on. So top of the bun is things outside of yourself. What do you like about what's going on around you? What are you grateful for? So I'll let you start off.
Sure. Oh man, there's so many things. So of course, this is top of the bun. This is I am very grateful for the opportunities that are now coming my way. It is amazing, but it also reinforces my desire to keep moving my messages forward first, and I'm just the messenger. So I'm really grateful to keep that in mind at all times.
Fantastic. I am grateful that I am 88% moved. I started yesterday, and I'm not moving far, just down 3 floors, but guess what floor my new home is on?
8.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is so funny because I focus on positive. I'm grateful that I have the opportunity after, when to hold and when to fold. When do you complain and when do you not complain? I run the 21-day fast from complaining. So complaining is not usually in my cadre, but sometimes you just have to say that, there's your neighbors are smoking and you don't like it, and there's noise, and then sometimes you don't, or you do what you can, and then sometimes you get a call to say, let's look at apartment on the 8th floor. And you're like, okay. So not far, but I'm grateful that I have had the help. My daughter's in town, and her and her boyfriend, who are just texting me now, are you sure you don't want any more help? So I'm grateful that I have that opportunity. That's about 3 gratitudes right there. Go.
Oh, okay. I am grateful for this past weekend was gorgeous, and it was so stunning in New Jersey. It was beautiful. The weather was lovely. There's always allergens in the air, but that's okay. And we went to the park and we built our new patio deck furniture, and we sat out there, and it was just so beautiful that I had this moment in the park where I was just observing all the families, and very few were on their phones. They were all interacting with each other. And it made me feel grateful for the hope that resides inside me. More families are willing to do that on a daily basis and not just for holidays.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
All right.
Would you like me to throw a few more gratefuls at you?
Yes, because I only have one more, so you have like 2 more.
Okay. So there was this one moment when we were in the park, and my son, we found this patch of grass underneath this shady tree, and it was this beautiful patch, this beautiful area. And we all laid down and we're like, isn't this gorgeous? The sky is beautiful blue, not a cloud in the sky. And I was so grateful to just be able to lie there. And then my son lying next to me goes, this is so peaceful.
That is beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. My final gratitude is that, the sky's blue. We've been having some June gloom in May. And so, we got a finger just now too from somebody, which is not that finger, but this finger. Thank you. And if you have gratitudes and appreciations, please do put them in the chat as well. It's been a little bit San Francisco weather actually for the last month, which is unusual. I went up to San Francisco for Mother's Day. My kids hosted me, and it was sunnier there than here, but I see sun. Let's see if I can quickly show you.
Okay.
This is the last time you're going to see this. So it's not gloomy. You can see the cloud. You see the gloom layer,
and then there, and then beautiful.
Yeah. So, all right. So there you go. That is the top of the bun. Now the bottom of the bun. I already explained. So
Yep.
what do you like about yourself? Because if you can't approve of yourself, how the fork do you expect anyone else to? And it's so important because it's the foundation of mental health, which, by the way, today is the last day that officially marks the month of mental health awareness. But you can carry your own good mental health with you no matter what day, what month it is. And that's what we're encouraging you to do. So I'll start. I appreciate that I can do 8 things at one time and still not beat up on myself when something might slip out. So we're good.
Good. I appreciate that my heart is in good health. I went to see my cardiologist yesterday
Oh,
morning and all good. And he was very happy to see I'm very stable. So all good. And he's like, guess what? Unless something's going on, you get to wait a whole another year before you see me again. He's a wonderful doctor. So I appreciate that my heart seems to be in good order right now. So yeah.
do you have a condition? Is that
I
why?
do. Yeah, I do.
Oh,
Mhm.
okay. Can I ask?
Sure, I have a bicuspid aortic valve. So it's a congenital defect, and it's where you're supposed to have tricuspid, 3 valves, and mine 2 of them are fused together. So eventually, most people at some point will need valve replacement, but hopefully not until I'm much, much older. And
Mm.
some people can actually live for, I didn't find out about this until a few years ago, which I should have known because my father had this defect, but I didn't find out until I was having pulmonary ventricular contractions, which are basically like skipped heartbeats. And I was like, what? Something feels really wrong. And they did an
Wow.
echocardiogram and I did a stress test. And
They
sure
found
enough,
it.
they found it. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but
Did you
I'm
ask your
good. I'm all good. And
good?
I'm happy to be here and to be functional. And, my heart's in good health, so
Yeah.
it's all good.
And you have a beautiful heart inside
Thank
and out.
you. Thank you.
Yeah. I appreciate that. I know how to appreciate that I am fully aware 88% of the time of all the good that is in my life. And you'll know I use the hashtag I love my life because I really do. And that is actually doesn't come like a light switch. It's a practice. It's a discipline, as my big brother Michael Bernard Beckwith will say. And he's live right now. I told him not to do lives when I'm doing lives, but oh well. But I appreciate that I am aware of all the good that I have and that I am.
Okay, last appreciation, right?
Yeah.
All right. This is a big whopper one. I appreciate that somebody gave me the opportunity to recognize that I have something of a humanitarian bent. And in October, I will be going to India to speak live in front of over 700,000 people.
Wow.
And I was like, what?
Yeah, that is great. Is this the Women's Economic Forum by any chance?
No,
No.
no,
Is it?
it's actually at an ashram, and it's actually in, oh my goodness, I'm blanking on his name, but it's in honor of a particular saint, and it's all a humanitarian thing, and this
Oh.
whole thing. So it's going to be at an ashram, and it's beautiful. So I'm still learning about it because it's very new that I found out about it,
Mhm.
and I'm like, wait, what? So,
Oh, that's wonderful. Congratulations for
yeah, so
that.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I was in New Delhi in 2017, speaking for the Women's Economic Forum. That's why I was asking. And they gave me my, I think, 17th award, which is the Iconic Woman of the Year, creating a better world for all. The longest award title, but it is also humanitarian. That's why I asked. I'm like, wow,
Yeah.
that could be the
I
same thing.
just I love it. I
Yeah,
think it's
that's
crazy. So
beautiful.
we'll see.
Beautiful. And we have an outside gratitude and appreciation. Maria with Tea and Telly. She's grateful that she's lost 18 pounds. Woohoo! Good number. Good number. Yeah. And it's motivating you. Fantastic. I think you know, Maria, that this last year I'm down 35 pounds and still trying to now move some of that fat into muscle. Toning is not, you're tempted just to go, my bathing suit says, get in the pool, work out. My sweatpants say, nah, you're okay. Just ease out.
Yeah.
But 18 pounds, that's fabulous, Maria. And thank you so much for sharing me with your tribe. And we're talking about out of control kids and boundaries today. So if you are just tuned in, if you have any questions or comments for my show expert, Yarona Boster, who is a parenting certified parenting coach, grief coach,
Loss, infertility.
Infertility. That's the one I was thinking
Yeah.
of. I'm not going to read your whole bio for a change. It's your last one. If people don't know by now,
It's all good.
This is her swan song for now as a co-host on this topic. So we wish her well, but we wanted to pick her brain on this one thing that drives me crazy, which is parents who don't give kids enough of a boundary. And I'm going to let you take it away after I do one moose on the table.
Okay.
So I believe, and you can disagree or agree with me on this one, that one of the reasons we have out of control kids is for the generation that preceded us. There may have been a swing from the pendulum to a over control way. So parents in the 50s, 40s, 50s, 60s, it's my way or the highway. Don't cry, I'll give you something to cry about, and you better do this, and you better sit down, and you better, blah, blah, blah. And it was extremely boundary full, I believe. And as a result of that, I believe that the next generation swung all the way to the other end and said, I'm not going to be like my mom and dad or my parents. I am going to allow my child to fully express themselves and allow them to be whatever, because that's how I don't ever want to be under dictatorial martial control ever. As a result of that, the kids are just like screaming maniacs, meltdowns, tantrums. And I'm not talking about all kids on planes. I'm just talking about the kids that you can hear it in their tantrum, whether they're just really afraid of the experience or whether they're just like, F you.
Right. Well, I'm going to tell you this. I have a couple things to say about this. So number one, yes, authoritarian parenting was actually pretty much always the way it was until the information age began. And as the information age developed, there developed a greater awareness of things going on. And this pushback against, I don't want to be, here's the difference. It's not about boundaries. I don't want to be restricted. So authoritarian parenting is more about restricting your children's capacity to do things and stuff. Boundaries are healthy. Boundaries are necessary. So I hate it when people are like, boundaries are a bad thing. No. No is a good word. No is a necessary word. And boundaries are healthy things because we have natural boundaries in this world. As human beings, we have limitations. You cannot jump off the roof of your house with a cape on and think you're going to fly. So one of those boundaries that your parents have to instill is the realization that you have life-limiting boundaries. Okay? But then there are societal boundaries. Societal boundaries help us function as a society. When you think about it, from the perspective of, okay, let's say you're driving on the street and you know that there's a speed limit. If you're going 3, 4, 5 times the speed limit, you are violating a societal boundary and you are putting other people in danger. So that's really important. Societies function with boundaries, rules, things that we need in order to function together as people. Then you've got what we call interpersonal boundaries, right? These are the boundaries you create and develop in your personal society, in your personal environment with your friends, with your family, things like that, right? In your house rules. In our house, we have house rules, but my son also is aware of the fact that our house rules may be different from other people's house rules. So if we let him jump on our couch, that doesn't mean he gets to jump on everybody's couch. It means we tell him, this is allowed in our house, but if you go to your friend's house, you have to ask what their house rules are, because they may not be okay with that. And then there's personal boundaries. And here's where people get so lost. When you have personal boundaries, these are the most detrimental, that I think when parents don't teach their kids about boundaries, they do them a disservice, because they allow a person to think, I don't need to have any boundaries, and that means other people can potentially violate them, or I can go ahead and violate other people's boundaries. So this is where it gets really super serious. Those societal boundaries and the personal boundaries and interpersonal boundaries, really important, people. So I want to change the way we look at boundaries. They are healthy. And I have a story to tell you. So one day I walked into a home when in my old work in early childhood in the EI program, that's early intervention. That's babies birth to 3 with developmental delays and disabilities. We used to go into the home to do the meetings. When you're with a toddler, you're usually in what we call the natural environment, is wherever the caregiver is. So daycare, home, wherever it may be, grandma's house, babysitter. We go into the home and I see the 2-year-old climbing the drapes. He's literally climbing the drapes. And I turned to the mom and I said to her, are you okay with this? And she said, well, I don't want him to feel restricted. I can't tell him no. I want him to feel like the sky's the limit. He can do anything. And then when you're dealing with a child with a potential developmental delay or a disability, there is a guilt component to that, which a lot of parents feel like, I must have done something wrong. Therefore, I have to give my child every opportunity possible so they can feel not so restricted, since they're going to potentially be restricted by their own physical limitations or disability limitations. And as a result, they put them in this place where they feel like they're entitled to things. Oh, I can climb my mom's drapes because it's fine, because she says so. Unfortunately, that carries over into the public, that carries over into society, and so on. So I looked at the mom and I understood, from a very pure mom trying to encourage her kid way, she was trying desperately to help support her child. So I said to her, okay, in your opinion, when your child is old enough to go skydiving, would you be okay with that? And she said, well, yeah, of course, why not? If he's old enough and he understands, what he needs, sure, okay. I said, all right, how about if he wants to go skydiving without a parachute? And she looked at me like I was nuts. And I was like, because here's the thing, life has natural boundaries. You can't skydive without a parachute unless you want that to be the last thing you do. So you're teaching your child that it's okay, you can do anything, and the world will just bend to your desires. But that is not what happens. And those are the life boundaries, the life limiting boundaries. So when we broaden it out for parents, they have a better understanding of why those boundaries become more and more important as we narrow them back in.
So what would you have that mom say or do instead of what she did?
Well, first I would talk to her about the same way. What are your house rules? Oh, house rules. What are house rules? Well, if you don't want your child drawing on the wall, that's a house rule. If you want your child to go to bed at a certain time and you want to go to bed at a certain time, that's a house rule. But the house rules need to be applied across the board, everybody, right? Well, if mommy can't climb the curtains, then why is her child climbing the curtains, right? So now if she's fine with him climbing the curtains and potentially getting hurt, that's her call. But she can't get angry if he pulls the curtains down, breaks the curtains, etc., because she allowed for that to happen, right? So if you are, as a parent, need to think through the potential ramifications of this action that your child is taking, if you are fine with them drawing on your walls and they go and they draw on your favorite painting that's on the wall, you can't get mad at them. You gave them an allowance without restrictions.
Yeah.
So what I say is you have to think about the potential aftermath and then dial it down from there.
So that's where that word enabling comes in,
Yeah.
right? So if you're allowing or enabling people, and this doesn't necessarily mean even bad behavior. When you were talking earlier about the three kinds of boundaries, parental, societal, and personal, see if I got that right.
Life boundaries.
I
Life boundaries
was
at the most.
listening.
Yeah.
I was listening. So one of the things that that sparked up in me is, if we don't teach as parents that you have the right, that almost sounds too harsh, but you have the ability, or self-love is about setting some boundaries so that you don't become walked on, and some people are, not that expression, doormat. I remember, because I came from that population of 7 out of 10 of us who've had childhood trauma, I learned that my only job was to make you happy. And so even if it meant getting walked on, I wasn't a doormat, I was wall to wall carpet. I know that's hard to imagine me being in that space, but I was for many decades, where, when someone would step on my toe, I would say, ouch, right? Not, hey, what are you doing? Don't step on my toe. It was just like, I would say, sorry, and people would say, why are you saying sorry? You didn't do anything. Somebody did something to you.
Right.
And it's important for you to go, hey, that didn't feel good. It took me years to be able to even say that. Now, I might say it a little too quick, but anyways, that's what was brought up in me when you were speaking.
Yeah. And here's the thing. We don't know the ramifications of not providing boundaries usually until the aftermath hits.
The consequences.
So the consequences, exactly. So when you're talking about that kid on the plane, first off, you also aren't necessarily aware of the context. And so I think that when we place judgment on other people based off of a small window of something we're seeing, no parent wants their kid screaming on a plane. I'm going to tell you right now, no parent wants that. There's their own embarrassment, their own frustration, their own brain melting down from the screaming. So no parent wants that. But a lot of parents who've gotten to the point where their kid is just, they didn't provide boundaries. And that's the reason why, because the kid wants what they want when they want it, and they want it the way they want it, and they're not getting the thing that they want, maybe to run up and down the aisles and stuff. And the parent is at their wit's end. Their brain has blanked out. They don't know what to do. So they're shutting down in that moment. So the best thing, the kindest thing you can do is offer them a moment of empathy. And that will actually shore up their strengthening reserves to deal with the situation. But when you look at them in judgment or pity or frustration and your own anger, you just wall off their capacity to actually figure out what to do, because now they're feeling all that from everybody else. Why can't you just take care of it? But imagine now if one person stepped in and said, hey, you look stressed to the max. Is there anything I can help you with? And the mom's like, I just need to pee. I just need to go to the bathroom. And you're like, go for it. I got this. We're on a plane. What's going to happen? Right? No, everybody's observing and watching. Right? And maybe if that mom gets a moment to themselves, they can come back, and now they've shorn up their reserves, and they can figure out how to approach their kid in a better way. And the stranger may have just de-escalated the situation too. I have a tendency to walk in and de-escalate just about every situation with a kid. So it's I'm usually
I'm bringing you on every plane from now on.
But I tell you, because I do it with kind firmness. I don't just do it with kindness. Now, I think a lot of those parents who came from parents of authoritarian parenting, who were like, I can't parent that way. They know what they don't want to do, but they don't know how to proceed appropriately with what they do want to do. And there's this thing called kind firmness. I don't let my son walk all over me, but I also don't scream at him to the point of no return. I find the place of de-escalation. and I find the place of what's going on underneath that tantrum. Because remember, kids' emotions, they're not regulated yet. So if you've got a 5-year-old on a plane screaming their head off, it's also that they're feeling, imagine the plane is going down and you're stressed and scared and screaming. Whatever it is that feeling is, they're feeling that even when the plane's not going down. So you've got to empathize with the parent and empathize with the kid. And I know that's hard to do, but you got to set your frustration to the side for a moment, give them a little bright light of empathy. And in that moment, that's what actually helps de-escalate the situation more than anything else. You can't just say to somebody, get over it. And they're like, oh, you're right. I should just stop screaming. What? Oh, you make so much sense. No, that's not what works.
Yeah, and that's why she's the balanced one on this. I try. And if you're resonating with what she's saying and you're going, I don't know if I could do that, I'm with you. And it's just, we just try. We do the best that we can. We don't beat ourselves up, but I will try to be a little more understanding the next time I hear a screaming kid on a plane. It definitely is one of my triggers. I have, is someone pushing your buttons? Well, maybe it's time to hide your button.
Yeah.
Same with the someone got your goat. Well, put the goat in the barn. I was thinking about that earlier this week, and I guess it was for this reason. So if I cannot put that out there, then it might not get pushed. I know my daughters will appreciate that, because if they're traveling with me on an airplane, and some kids start there, the first thing they do is they turn and look at me and go, Mom, don't say.
Yeah, but you know what? Here's the thing. That's your button to decide if it's going to get pushed or not. Look, I'm not perfect, and I have my own buttons, and people will push them, and it's your trigger, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes something happens, and that's what triggers you. That triggers your frustration, your anger, your resentment, your annoyance. But here's the deal. If it's your annoyance, your trigger, your button, you get to figure out how to control and maintain that button.
Sure.
And it's not up to that
me.
mom.
I'm the boss.
You're the boss
For
of
sure.
you.
For
so
sure.
Here's the thing, though. If you can find your kindness, and the best way to do that is imagine yourself being that mom. Go back to a time where you had kids, and maybe your daughters were beautiful and wonderful, and they didn't scream.
They were perfect.
Okay. But here's the thing, that doesn't mean that that's not the case for other people. And we have to recognize and understand that this happens to us, and find a moment in your life that's maybe not this exact circumstance, but something similar that you can put yourself into their shoes to allow yourself to say, you know what? Yeah, I haven't been in that exact situation, but I've been in a similar situation. And man, wouldn't it have been amazing if somebody had offered me a lifeline in that moment instead of judgment? Yeah. So, that's what I'm saying for the people who take that judgment. Now, if you're the parent in that circumstance, sometimes the best thing you can do is ask for assistance and say, flag down a flight attendant and say, I just need a minute in the bathroom, please. And I promise you, and I know the flight attendants have plenty of more important things to do, but if they can take that brief moment to help, because that's a part of, their work, then maybe, just maybe, that kid will be like, whoa, Mom just left me with a stranger. And here's what it does in the kid's brain too. When kids are stuck on the emotive track of like tantrum, screaming, crying, I'm not getting my way, etc., and you do something off kilter that's abnormal to what you normally do, your kid's going to be like, I have no idea how to react. And more often than not, that distraction, that shift off the track of I'm just going to scream until I get my way, and suddenly Mom didn't give in to them, but instead did something entirely out of the box, they're going to be like, I got no clue. I got nothing here. What am I going to do? And it stops that emotional mechanism of screaming, freaking out in its tracks.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Not giving in to them. First of all, station ID, it's already marked 40. And as usual, This hour goes by very fast. I am Dr. Marissa. This is my co-host, Yarona Boster. This is a special series called Love, Loss, and Living. And we are talking about boundaries, healthy boundaries for kids as a parent. And you are tuned in to Take My Advice. I am not using it. Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on KCAA, the station that leaves no listener behind, AM 1050, FM 106.5, streaming everywhere, live right now on YouTube, my YouTube channel, LinkedIn, and Facebook. And that is where you are. KCAA is the number one talk station in the IE. I am the number one 8 a.m. show. Thank you for that. And it leaves no listener behind. I did want to comment on the situation that you're talking about too, with providing that not give into. And I think that a lot of parents, they start off with the best intentions and they want to give and teach their children some healthy boundaries. And I know for my kids, one of the reasons why they were perfect, no, I'm kidding, the 88% fabulous, it was my husband and I, my husband before, my husband and I agreed, thank God, on one thing, which is if we're out in public and you like being out in public, you want to go to McDonald's and play in the thing, or you want to go out and eat, whatever it is, then there is behavior for outside and in public. And if you begin to fuss and I want this, I don't want that, then that is the moment we knew to remove the child, to get them to understand that this whining and complaining is you're okay with it when you're on your own, you're not perfect, but outside in public, this is not the behavior. And so it only took like less than 3 times to remove them, so they got the association very early, at like 3 or 4, to not do that. And also, I want to have this when we're shopping, right? Oh, Mom, please. And the thing is, I watch parents and they're good at the beginning, but as soon as it gets escalated and then they give in, then it's worse, because the next time the kid remembers that if they just please long enough, the parent will give in. So you mentioned before, it's so important that the parent not give in, because once you give in, you've lost your leverage for your word to mean anything. So I just wanted to emphasize that.
So let's talk impulse control. Here's the problem in this day and age. Parents have less impulse control over their own decision making as well. And a part of that has to do with the fact that as our society started to move faster and faster, and we started to, it's been a constant, things aren't sustained as long. Like you get furniture, and even that like breaks down more than it used to, because it's not built to last. So now in the technology world, everything is always, the newer version, get the newer. We're a society that's dedicated to always getting newer, better, brighter, fixer, let's make this. It's one of the reasons why there's higher divorce rates. It's one of the reasons why there's just higher turnover in jobs. It's one of the reasons. It's because we don't have the sustainability that we used to have to think about our critical decision making for long term as opposed to short term. We're much more designed now to look at something as a short term thing.
Instant
gratification. And as a result, or just gratification of the newer, the better, the next, instead of trying to fix and maintain the thing and reconnect with the thing that we currently have and find ways to improve upon that thing, as opposed to looking to the next thing. So we as a society have to do better than that, because as adults, that's exactly what we're teaching our children. Oh, your kid's screaming in the mall and you want to finish your shopping? Just hand them your tablet, hand them the phone. And I need to get this through to everybody. This is so important. The research shows that handing a young child a personal handheld device and not having any kind of restrictions over it and just allowing them to have it because you're annoyed and you want to appease them. When you give a child a handheld device, you're giving them a drug. It actually hits the same receptors in the brain that that drugs and alcohol hit.
Wow. Wow. Like this is empirically studied?
Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
So,
That just blew my mind.
so would you give your 5-year-old heroin? Because I know I wouldn't. So I'm going to tell you guys now, if you're giving your child a device, you need to create massive levels of restrictions around that. You have to be ready to have the fight, and you have to do it in small increments. You know what? When they talk about tech detox weekends and stuff, you're literally detoxing from a drug. You know those videos of parents recording their kid while their kid is playing a video game, and then they unplug it and the kid goes crazy? You are taking a drug out of the hands of a drug addict. That is what you're doing in that moment. So it's not funny. Stop doing that. And here's where you hear my anger and frustration, because I very rarely get this way, but I am sick and tired of seeing parents walk around with a kid that is more connected to a device, and the parent is more connected to a device than they are to each other. Because we are creating a disconnected, apathetic, non-empathetic world. And then we expect empathy from other people. We expect other people to understand, well, the reason we're not getting empathy from other human beings is because we're not giving it ourselves. The reason we're creating an apathetic, stressed out, depressed, anxiety-ridden world is because we're not creating one of the core and developing and flourishing in one of the core human needs, which is connection. So connect with your kids. Don't just put that phone down because you want to connect with your kids. Put that phone down because you understand what they're getting out of it. They will thrive. They will build empathy. They will build core connections in their lives. And parents, please, put the phone away when you have an infant. Stop recording them and start paying attention to them and giving them your eye contact and your facial expressions. Because another thing, in a newborn, the only thing they have are their senses. And if they're not disabled, if they don't have a developmental delay or a disability, the only thing they have is their hearing, their sight, their sound, their smells, their touch, and their taste. They're literally helpless. And the thing that they're relying on is the connection with the adult in their life. So when you're holding a phone in front of your face like this, hi, baby. Oh, aren't you just the cutest thing? What they're seeing, they're not seeing your eyes and they're not seeing your facial expressions. So what you're doing to them is similar to putting a prisoner in isolation. You're removing two core components to human connection, which is eye contact and facial expressions. And that is how babies learn. So one of the reasons why you see kids less able to make eye contact, there you go.
Wow.
But if your child is literally in isolation, they're lying there, they can't even roll over yet, they can't do anything other than coo to you and call to you, and they're expecting your response, and all they're hearing is your disembodied voice because you're not giving them your face and your eye contact. And remember, babies' visions are not perfect yet. They're just starting to make base vision. They're just starting with that nearsighted vision. So understand that when you're doing that, you're cutting off two really key components to the human connection that they need.
Wow. Wow. That was my mind blower today, because I have been known to say, this is not that big of a deal because we're still connecting in some way, but it brings back the clinical studies that I grew up with in psychology around the monkeys that were not touched or were not visually stimulated with the eye contact, and how they developed. Oh, wow. I just saw another link for the increased levels of autism. Maybe there's something in there with not having that kind of connection. So if you're a parent and you are concerned about this new generation being not caring or emotionally stunted or all of those things, or I love this when parents are like, get off the phone or get off the da da da, and then they're doing this, right?
Yeah.
Themselves right? So that's the hypocrisy that is kind of hitting us now. So
And
wow.
go back to the house rules again. If you're making a rule for your kid, you better be applying the same rule to yourself.
Yeah, for
Stop
sure.
making different rules for yourselves versus your kids. And you're going to say to them, oh, when you're older, you'll have the ability to do X, Y, and Z. When you're older, you'll da, 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 da. Stop that. Stop that. Because they listen, they pay attention to what you're doing, not what you're saying. If your words and actions are discordant and not in integrity with each other and not congruent, you are showing them, not telling them. And kids will always follow what you show, not what you tell.
Actions
Okay,
speak
that's how
louder
we
than
learn.
words.
We learn through the highest way we learn is through our own personal experience. The second way we learn is through somebody else's personal experience that had an impact or ripple effect on us. The third way we learn is in practice of something. So let's say you went to school for something and now you're putting that thing to practice, right? So it's not a perfect set of circumstances. Like when you're a surgeon, you're learning how to be a surgeon, and then you're putting it into practice. And then the fourth is learning, right? You're opening a book, you're learning about something, but under rare of these circumstances are in telling. That's the last thing. Somebody tells you something, that's no way to learn. Show them first, show them. And that's what matters. And those boundaries, they only work if you apply them to both yourselves and your kids.
Yeah, great. I just want to share one of the tools I used growing up. I had a little book that I started but did not finish called Balanced Parenting. People are still asking about that. I took the 4 agreements, and it's a phenomenal book if you haven't read it. He's a friend of mine. I'm very grateful, Don Miguel Ruiz, and took the 4 agreements that he talks about. Don't take things personally, do the best that you can, and then made those into a 4 agreements with children. So when my kids were young, I had to follow this too. I translated into be respectful, cooperate with your sister, and do the best you can. Translate it into you get one oops, right? So if you fought with your sister first time, nobody's perfect. Second time, though, you lose or you get a ding on that. And once you accumulate a certain number of dings, then you choose what you lose as a consequence. So they fill out a list of what they see as privileges in their life, and then they choose which privilege to lose the following day. And my husband and I also had to follow that. So if we, yelled out of control, that was not respectful. And so we would get first ding, not a big deal, second ding. And then we would also fill out that, what is pleasurable to us that we would have to, choose not to have the following day. And that's how we taught our kids, boundaries.
That's great. And there's one also that's really, really great, really beneficial. It's natural consequential discipline. So if a child is throwing their toy and at this point they've learned we don't throw our toys, we play with them nicely, right? But they're throwing their toy. After a couple of reminders, because kids need reminders first, remember that's not how we play with our toy, etc. And you have to stick to the plan. If you choose for 3 reminders and that's it, well, then that toy gets taken away. Now, that's not a punishment. That is a natural consequential discipline because you've told them how to appropriate play with that toy, and they're choosing to not do that. Random acts of punishment are just cruelty. So keep in mind that if your child did something that broke a house rule, taking something else away that has nothing to do with the broken rule is just random acts of cruelty. So it doesn't necessarily teach them anything. Keep that in mind. So natural consequential discipline is, it's your responsibility to feed the fish, and you haven't fed the fish, you haven't done that chore. Well, you know what? Now you don't get to keep the fish in your room, and he's no longer your pet for a while. something of that nature. It depends, because it has to be something that matters also, right? But it has to be consequential to and directly related to the action. So all of these things are very specific to the circumstances. And that's why when I work with parents, I work with them in their specific dynamic that sets them up and their child up for the most success, because it takes into account them as a person and their child as a person. That's really important. You have to understand and know your child. But if you're disconnected from your child, you're not getting to know them. So the first thing is connect with your kids. And then once you know them, you have a better objective perspective on what works and what doesn't work for them. That's really important. And I will tell you, I know that we were talking before about ways you can find me, and I know we only have a few minutes left, so I do want to give everybody an opportunity to know that we just dropped our myself and I have a co-host, another coach, another advanced certified life coach, and we just dropped our podcast. It's called The Evolution of Parenting, because the role of parenting never stops, but it does change. And he is the parent of 20 and 30 somethings, and I'm the parent of a 5-year-old, and we both come at it from educational and child development backgrounds. And it's pretty awesome, if I do say so myself. So we have 2 episodes out, and we'll be dropping 1 per week. And the next thing is my book. So I am writing a book on parenting, and that should be launching in the late fall. Hopefully no later than early winter. I'm working on that with my publisher, and it's called Unspoken Signals: Essential Parenting Skills to Raise Emotionally Secure Children.
Yikes. Little long there. Unspoken parenting.
Unspoken Signals is the main title. Unspoken Signals.
Let's just put that one for now.
Unspoken Signals, because a lot of what we do with our kids are the things that are not spoken. A lot of what we show our kids are the things that are not spoken. And that's what they pick up the most. The signals we display tend to be the things that are most not spoken. So, yeah.
All right. So, and of course, Footprints is your website, right?
Yep.
Footprints.org.
Footprintscoaching.org. Yeah.
.org. Let's put that in your name thing so that people can find you. And I truly have, I learned a lot, and I really appreciate the time that we've had. Let's get this. Footprints Coaching. Is it print or
Prints with a plural? Okay. So footprintscoaching.org. And I am still taking just a few more clients. I have a lot on my plate. So right now I have only a few last openings if people are looking to do individual coaching. So I am still doing a little bit of that.
Wonderful. Let me get this out of here. There we go. Oh, it's not showing up there.
Well, it's okay.
Let's okay.
We'll find
Footprints. It is footprintscoaching.com. It was a little long. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for the time that we've had. I think you've been with me like 6 months or something like that. It's been a great time, and I've learned a lot. And please do go and support Yarona in her new podcast, even though it's not mine. No. Her new podcast, because it certainly is a beautiful roadmap to the evolution of parenting. So appropriately named. Last time you're going to be doing this because it's all about balance. Peace in, peace out. World peace through inner peace. Oh, Asian Oprah giveaway today. I'm giving away a pair of tickets to Judy Collins, who is playing this Friday at the Saban Theater. Also giving even more tickets away tomorrow. Don't forget to tune in. It's Tempting Conversations with Dr. Marissa and Alon Carter, the daughter of the founder of The Temptation. So you'll want to come back here. But I wish you well. Thank you so much, Yarona Boster. Blessings to you in all of your endeavors from this point forward.
Thank you.
Have the best day ever. See you tomorrow.